prevalence of insomnia, stress, anxiety, and so on, it's so huge. 1 in 2 people are dealing with these same things.
Stress affects the nervous system. This is what breathwork helps with. Stefanie Broes is co-founder and CEO of Moonbird, the world's first handheld breathing coach. With a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences and a personal journey through insomnia, Stefanie transformed her own challenges into a mission to make breathwork simple and accessible for everyone.
There's a neurological way why the sense of touch actually is a very powerful and easy way of communicating information. It's calming in itself. It's why children have a teddy bear. It's a very primitive and old way to convey information, is really holding on to something or somebody. Breathwork is very uncontested if you look at it from a scientific perspective. Everywhere where an unregulated nervous system impacts whatever is going on, whether that's mental or physical, breathwork is actually a very easy and effective way of doing that.
Why do we wait till things fall apart? Why not take care of this body? Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pause to Elevate with Dr. Kasim Al-Mashat, where I share conversations around mindset, mindfulness, and psychology so you can better understand your mind to transform your life. I am so thrilled to share today's conversation with Stefanie Broes, all the way from Belgium. She's the co-founder and CEO of Moonbird, the world's first handheld breathing coach. And friends, I have it in my hand and I love it. I'll be sharing my experience about it as well. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, otherwise we'll put the links in the show notes. With a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences and a personal journey through insomnia, Stefanie transformed her own challenges into a mission to make breathwork simple and accessible for everyone. Join us today, friends, if you want to understand how your breath can calm your nervous system, improve sleep, and help you reconnect with your body, especially in moments of stress. We will also explore the mindset behind running a successful business. But first, a warm welcome to you, Stefanie, to the Pause to Elevate podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much. And I know it's late where you are, so really appreciate you joining us. And I have to say, your story and your product is so intriguing, with a mission that's so compelling to really help people connect with the power they have that's under their nose, the breath. So I wonder if we can begin with, where did this story begin for you, where you had this personal experience that led you to really a business idea?
Yeah, well, you actually mentioned it already a bit in the introduction, and thank you for that kind intro. A couple of years, I used to deal with sleeping issues like so many people today are. And I was looking for a solution to deal with that. I was already practicing meditation for a couple of years. And I know that the object of meditation, even when you're super stressed, is to try to focus your thoughts on an anchor or a reference point. But I found that so hard to do that in my bed. And I discovered, actually only after meditating for a couple of years, how breath work is actually really different from meditation. I used to confuse it a little bit because you often focus and meditate on your breath. And it's when I learned that breath work really is different from meditation that I started to experiment with that and discover what you just mentioned, what an important and powerful tool our breathing is, and how powerful it can be for when you, for instance, have sleeping issues, but just also in general for stress reduction, anxiety, and so many other use cases. So it's really through my own quest in dealing with my sleeping issues that I discovered the powerful benefits of breath work.
There's so many things I want to ask you about that, and we'll come to this. Actually, it's one of the questions I want to ask you is the difference between breath work and meditation. So we'll come back to that too. But, I just want to go back to where you are, graduate school, struggling with sleep. And I can totally relate. It's actually was one of my most challenging time as well. And I developed stomach issues. They thought it was IBS, it was colitis. I was stressed out of my mind, and life happened. This is going through loss. There's a lot of things happening. But, I just want to go back where you are going through all of this. But something what led you to explore more are holistic ways of managing sleep. You could have done medication, which sometimes people need through a GP, but like, what was that curiosity to go, there might be something that could help me, and then trying things like, I just want to, I'm curious because you
Yeah.
had such a creative like hunger.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, true. So I was studying biomedical sciences, so I've always had an interest in what makes us sick and what can we do to make us and keep ourselves healthy.
Mm,
And during my study or my university period, I came across so many pharmacological ways. That's actually really what most of the interventions were focused on. And I always, even then when I was at university, always thought of like, what are like natural ways in which we can circumvent or change these diseases or conditions that we sometimes are in. So I guess it's really like a personal interest.
mm,
And for me, then really entering like the holistic space started with yoga, like for so many people. And it's true yoga that I discovered, and I went to a meditation class. I really loved
mm,
that. And then I learned the research behind meditation as well. And then I had my serious sleeping issues, and it's then that
mm,
I was like lacking. I'm not going to say like I was lacking the solution, because meditation can be very helpful as well for sleep, but I still found it too difficult to keep my focus. And the breath was for me different in the sense that it was
mm.
something active. It was like an active intervention, something that you had to do. Um, and so it's really that path that I followed that led me to discover breath work.
It's time for a quick little update. A few months ago, 2.5% of you who are watching this content were subscribed to this channel. I'm so grateful to you. You helped us move it to 20%. However, if we do the math, that still leaves us 80% of you have not subscribed. Please help me change that. Go ahead and press that subscribe button. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the content. I really love that story of what led you to it, because a lot of people could be struggling with insomnia, but they're not going to come up with a product eventually to
Mm.
help other people as well, because breathwork helped them. So I really appreciate your
Yeah,
story.
it's also,
Yeah.
when talking to it about it to other people, I discovered that there are so many people, and that's when you look at the numbers and the prevalence of insomnia, stress, anxiety, and so on. It's so huge. So when I talk to it to my friends about it, I just noticed that like almost one in two people are dealing with these same things, and that encouraged me even more to not only develop a solution for myself, but also for all those other people, and that really
Mm,
honestly motivated me to do that. And I guess generally speaking, I've always been very curious and creative in the sense that when I came across like a problem in my life or something, I had ideas like, how can I solve
mhm.
this? Like generally, right? Not only
Yes.
for my insomnia, but general issues as well.
You see, that's a scientist, a researcher, but also the contributor. Like, you really want to contribute. Like, wait, we can make a difference here. And that's what, yeah. You're named Insomnia. And I just want to, point something out. Some people may not be on the clinical
Mm.
diagnosis of having, medical
Hmm.
insomnia,
Hmm.
but they could have trouble sleeping, and they
Hmm.
can still benefit from this. So this is not just breathwork is only if you have a clinical diagnosis of insomnia. Is we all struggle with some kind of sleep challenges, or late sleeping, difficulty falling asleep, waking up middle of the night, or so. Can you speak about the like the different forms of sleep that you've researched and different challenges people have?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's important actually to mention that Moonbird is not a medical device. So it's not aimed to treat or diagnose anything, but also not to treat insomnia. It's really
Right.
for sleeping issues generally. But there is indeed a big difference between just general sleeping issues and medically diagnosed insomnia. But underlying in a lot of cases is due to like an unregulated nervous system and stress building up
Mm,
during the day, which also impacts your hormones, leading you to wake up faster or having difficulties falling asleep and so on. And so I'd say it's like a spectrum, it's like a continuum. But as it aggravates and as it builds up over time, it can get really a lot worse. And then it can, like sleeping issues can definitely turn into insomnia.
mm,
Sleeping issues can also be much broader, like sleep apnea, restless leg
mhm.
syndrome, and so on. And obviously, we exclude those as well. here, what Moonbird focuses on and what breathwork generally focuses on really is when a stress system or nervous system is unregulated and leads to stress, and that leads to these sleeping issues.
Mm. You just, pointed out a key aspect and what a takeaway. Stress affects the nervous system. So this is what you're going after with the breath work
Mhm.
is things happen in life and they really affect nervous system. Could be even like stuck in traffic and now
Mhm.
we're upset, or a difficult conversation we had someone, or an email, or
Mhm.
something didn't go our way.
Mhm.
We wanted something, or we broke our favorite cup. Doesn't matter. Like things are going to happen. It's going to go, affects our nervous system.
Mhm.
So this is what breathwork helps with, like the impact on the nervous system and regulating nervous system.
Correct. Yeah, I sometimes
Wow.
call breath work the remote control of the nervous system because the nervous system works in two ways, right? You can upregulate it and you can shift into that stress state. And sometimes it can even be beneficial if it's like for short instances in time. And then you also have like the deceleration or the downregulation of the nervous system, which is the one that like deactivates us. It's the rest and digest mode. And breath work, essentially, by either speeding up or slowing down your breathing, you can shift between those two modes. By
Mm,
upregulating your breathing rate, you can really shift into that stressed state. And for a short moment of time, it can be beneficial. It can even lead to like emotions popping up, people really going through trauma and these like intense type of breath work. And then at the same time, if you decelerate your breathing rate, if you start to
mhm,
slow down, you tap into that parasympathetic nervous system or really the calming part of the nervous system.
mhm,
And so breathing really can make you shift between these two modes, which is like, it's almost like magic. It's crazy that something so simple and so intuitive, what we do the whole day, actually our whole lives long, and we don't think too much about it, that if we start to turn towards it and we start learning how to master this tool or
mm.
skill, we can shift between these modes, which is, it's, I think it's wonderful to work on this and to really spread that word around it.
I so love that metaphor of remote control. And as you said that, it made me think maybe, most of us are not using the remote control. We're just letting whatever the satellite is being played on TV is being played. Like we're not changing the channel by choice. It's like
Mhm.
whatever is getting played, our breath is getting played. And often it's very accurate and helpful because we don't have to remember to breathe, it's happening.
Mhm.
But then there's times where it's actually really helpful to regulate. So can you speak about, like, when is breath work helpful? And for those who maybe haven't even heard of the word breath work, like, is that it? Is it managing the breath? Is it changing the breath? Is that what's breath work?
Hmm. Well, breathwork actually is quite broad in a sense because it's not only about breathe, like literally breathing faster or slower, but there are
Mm,
certain components that make up our breathing. It's, for instance, breathing through the nose or the belly. A lot
mm,
of people probably have already heard of diaphragmatic breathing or
yeah.
belly breathing. And then you can have your posture, which is also super important, right? Because you can lift your shoulders, bring your shoulders
Mm,
downwards. You can really make sure that you have the space to breathe or not. You can breathe faster or slower, exactly what I already mentioned. So there are like lots of components that you can play with, and
mm,
that all together make up the breathing. And it's by playing with all of these, can also be like shallow breathing or deep breathing. If you combine these, ultimately you get different types of breathing exercises.
mm,
But the idea is really that you change one of these parameters, and most often it will be the rate at which you breathe, and it will be increasing or decreasing the breathing. And that has like a direct impact on the nervous system again. So breath work really is like
mm,
a combination of things that make up breathing and that with the intention to elicit certain effects.
mm. So that managing again that remote control, it elicits effect, so we can use it if we want a certain effect.
Mhm.
So it's something that I share with clients often. So I have my work is a combination of one-on-one as a psychologist doing counseling work, but I teach meditation and mindfulness-based stress reduction. But in the one-on-one work, I do teach breath work. like the box breathing, the 478, the different kinds of breath work. And I find it's so helpful in calming the mind. It's so helpful um, going through anxiety or having difficulty sleeping. And I've been doing breath work myself for years, and
Mhm.
so that's why I was so excited about what you have. I'm like, oh, here's a kind of a tradition that's been around thousands of years, but you brought science and tech. I was like, wow. Like it's like you made it so modern with
Yeah,
Moonbird.
true. And it's exactly as you mentioned it. So it's a practice, an ancient practice that has been practiced for thousands of years.
Mhm.
And we we don't need tools or tech per se, but I
Mm,
just found myself being 100% convinced by the science that I read about breath work, by the impact that I noticed myself, but I couldn't stick to the practice because I was too unregulated. I was too stressed. I
uh,
was too unfocused. I couldn't keep my focus on this practice of which I was super convinced and of which I knew that people were doing it on their own. And still, I was lacking support. I was lacking some form of guidance. And
mm,
there are many ways in which you can find guidance, right? You can go to a breathwork coach. You can go
mhm,
to breathwork classes. You can open, a meditation app that also offers breathwork and so on. But when you're in your bed, highly
mm.
unregulated, the last thing you want to do is open an app and look at the blue light hitting your face, scroll through different meditation apps, maybe already like opening up another app that wasn't your intention, or you don't have your breath work coach with you in your bed, right?
Right.
So that was like for me, I was like, okay, what other are the other senses that we can use to guide myself? And then I was literally thinking like, okay, if it's not listening, not hearing, it can't be tasting or
Right.
smelling. That's too complex. Like, what if we use a sense of touch? And
Yes.
quite fast that clicked with me because it felt like something organic and intuitive, right?
Mm,
It's we as humans, we hug each other. It's why children have a
mhm,
teddy bear. It's a very primitive and old way to convey information, is really yeah, holding on to something or somebody. It's calming in itself. And there's also a neurological way why this sense of touch actually is a very powerful and easy way of communicating information. And that's because if you look at the evolution of the development
mm,
of our senses, um, auditive and visual senses have been developed like way later, and they're highly complex in the brain. So they
mm,
require like a lot of processing power in the brain,
mm,
whereas the sense of touch was quite early in the development, and it's a quite easy way of communicating information. So it literally does
mm,
not require a lot of processing power from your brain to process this information. And so that when I learned all about those things, I literally had this idea. It was like a puzzle falling into place.
mhm, mhm,
And it was like, okay, we want to develop like an object that expands and contracts and that paces your breath and makes it really easy for you to follow this object.
mm,
And it's not visual or auditive. You literally feel how you need to breathe, and you just breathe along with the device in your hand. And that really was like the genesis of the
mm.
Moonbird product.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to quickly thank you for stopping by and watching this content. It truly means the world to me that you're interested in creating positive change. I also want to invite you to join our amazing community. I have free events online about mindfulness, mindfulness based stress reduction, laughter, as well as retreats that you can do from the comfort of your own home. And are you ready for this? Self paced program that you can do about mindfulness and stress reduction. So you can join the newsletter below to stay up to date on all these goodies. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and press that button. It really helps me to keep this content going and reach out to more guests. Thank you so much again, and may you continue enjoying watching this episode. So just the sense of touch, it is so tactile. I mean, it's so tactile, especially the hand. For many people, they experience a lot of sensations,
Mhm.
other parts in the body. For some, it's difficult to connect to sensations, but something
Mhm.
about hands, actually feet the same way. For
Mhm.
many, it's like, oh, I can feel something, I can touch
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
And I love what you've come up with, because let me just hold it up for those who are watching on YouTube. If not, we'll put the links to where you can see a visual. But it's actually, it's really simple. And basically, maybe I'll do a little demo here. You just basically shake it, a little green light shows up. I don't know if you can see it here. Yeah, green light shows up. And then you put your thumb on it like this. Toop. And then as soon as you put your thumb on it, it's actually now beginning to expand. It's like a balloon. It might be hard to see, actually. It's probably very hard to see,
Mhm.
but it's expanding. And as it's expanding, it feels, it fits so nicely in the hand, but as
Mhm.
it's expanding, it feels like a comfortable little balloon that's reminding you, just breathe in and then breathe out. I really like when I first held it, I was like, wow, this is so gentle,
Mhm.
and it's so simple. Like, it's
Mhm.
uncomplicated. And
Mhm.
I'm not using the app right now, but there's an app that maybe we'll speak about it later, which has a lot of great data as well. So I just want to show listeners it's really neat, and it actually feels nice on the hand.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
When we had the idea, my brother came over for dinner one night, and I explained the idea to him, and he pretty quickly was like, "I like it. I think it's easy to make. Like, I'll just order some components online, and we'll be able to make it in a few weeks." My brother is like really handy, and when I was a kid, he always used to take my unused electronics, like an MP3 or a laptop, he smashed it open with a hammer to look at the
Oh,
electronics
wow.
inside, and he never reassembled them, but it was fine. um, he
There's
learned
a lot of parts everywhere, a lot of digital
Yeah,
stuff, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
He learned a lot in doing that,
Electronics.
so I'm really grateful for him now for that. Um,
Is there car parts as well? Does he take cars apart?
Luckily, no, not yet.
Okay, good. What a relief.
Yeah. But so he really ordered some components online, and he started to assemble this himself. And we were when we were discussing this idea, we had a fruit basket in front of us on the table, and we started like taking these fruits, and it was like a lemon, a pear, and then an avocado. And ultimately, we found that the avocado shape was actually really like fitting
Mm.
our hand, and that then inspired us to go for this final shape.
Mm. Yeah, it feels very comfortable and just fits the hand, and I don't have to hold it too tight or
Hmm.
too, like, it's just very natural.
Hmm.
Yeah. Something I just want to go back to, and then maybe we'll talk as well as about the app. But what's so interesting, it's not a medical device,
Hmm.
but I think it's covered by some European countries with their insurance. Is that right?
Yeah, true.
Like, that's amazing.
Hmm.
Like, insurance coverage to get this, amazing.
Yeah, I think that's how it's supposed to be. You know, breath work is very uncontested if you look at it from a scientific
Mm,
perspective. And even from a like clinicians, we have lots of hospitals in Belgium and the Netherlands having
mm,
moonbirds in different parts of the hospital.
mm,
If it, like, for instance, for pain management before people go to surgery, for anxiety before they go to surgery, for pain
mm,
management after the surgery as well, in the psychiatric departments and so on. um, Everywhere where an unregulated nervous system
mm,
impacts whatever is going on, whether that's mental or physical. And when people are aware of this fact, they start to also appreciate the fact that there are tools available that enable people to finally tap into these things.
mm.
And so it took us a couple of years before we had like the insurance companies reimbursing our products. But in our home market, Belgium and the Netherlands, we are quite established right now. And so that's when I
Mm.
really felt like we're being recognized, and breath work is being recognized for what it is and how important it is. And so that
Yeah.
it encouraged me and motivated me only to like make sure that other insurance companies and other companies would also approve this and enable it to more people. But I totally agree. Like, it's not super convenient, perhaps, to expect insurance companies to reimburse these kind of tools. but we're moving to this more
Right direction.
preventive and holistic approach to health, which I actually think is very necessary and good.
Yeah. It's very progressive and needed, really. Like,
Mm.
why do we wait till things fall apart?
Yeah,
Why not do it sooner? Why not take care of this body? Like we brush our teeth.
yeah,
We don't wait until our teeth fall apart until we go to the dentist. Like, take
exactly,
care of the teeth. And
exactly.
I often share with participants and clients about meditation. It's the same. It's kind of flossing the mind. You know, what I mean? Like taking
Yeah, yeah,
care
yeah.
taking care of the mind ahead of time.
Yeah, and also from
Yeah.
a cost-effective perspective, like that's maybe less unsexy for like the
Yeah.
consumers to think of, but generally from an economic perspective, it's way easier to make sure people don't get sick rather than paying for them when they are sick. So, yeah.
Yeah. But this is on both a systems level,
Mm.
like in terms the system bears a lot of
Mhm.
that cost,
Mhm.
whatever insurance, and
Mhm.
but as well as the person,
Yeah.
like taking time off work or not
Yes.
being able to do activities we
Absenteeism.
want. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's something that I experienced. It's like, oh, if I would go back 20 something years ago, I would have done all of these things sooner. You know what I mean? Like, not a wait until things fall apart and then go, oh, I got to do something.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's most of the time
Yeah.
that people come in contact with these alternative techniques is when they fall apart.
Yeah.
But here we are trying to change that and trying to make sure as much as people, have access to these kind of tools, whether they need it or whether it's like preventive or not. But
Yeah.
it's one of our first taglines was really we want to make breath work affordable and cool.
Yes.
We want it
Yeah.
to be like I want to use my breath as a tool. Like you go to the gym, like it's cool thing to learn how
Yes.
to use and know how to use your breath. That's how it should be. Like
I like that. So that's kind of a cool thing to do. You can just whip up your little Moonbird.
exactly.
It's really a neat little device and it's pretty light. Yeah. A couple of things you're naming as well about the science.
Mm.
And it's something that's really important to know, as you mentioned, the question is not like, does breath work or does meditation help? The science is clear it does.
Mhm.
The question is, does someone want to give it a try?
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
exercise. The
Mhm.
question is not, does exercise benefit us? Well, yeah, it does. But
Yeah.
do we want to do it? Do we want to learn which one? And so it requires this willingness to try something.
Yes, absolutely.
It
And
really does.
I'm
Yeah.
also pretty open there. I'm like everybody should use the tools that they believe in and that they're open to trying, and that they find
Yeah.
fitting for them as well. But as if you don't try them, you will never know. And I think where meditation has been like a big hype around 10 to 5 years ago,
Mm.
now we're seeing the same evolution when it comes to breath work. It hasn't been so cool to say, I'm working on my breath work and so on, but it is changing right now. There's so
Yeah.
many breath work studios opening up everywhere and so on. So I just really, together with all those other companies in the space, want to make sure that breath work becomes like an equal opportunity to work on your mental health.
Yeah.
And invite as many people as possible to give it a go and try it and to see if it works for them. And for me, it's just another tool in the toolbox. Whether
Yeah.
it's running and breath work or running a meditation, I'm fine with whatever floats your boat. But I just invite more people to give it a go and see if that works for them.
Yeah. Experimenting is really helpful. Just
Mm.
trying it.
Mhm.
This breath. And I like on the actual app itself. And by the way, what I really was a bit of a relief for me was the Moonbird does not require subscription, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, because that really adds up the cost over years,
Mhm.
right? So there's no
True.
subscription. Um, but can you say a little bit about the app, and maybe we'll share a couple of videos on the screen about that in terms of what it looks like. It measures a couple of key things, and I want
Mhm.
us to go into it, like HRV. Like, what is that? Why is that helpful? So let's go over what happens in the app.
Yeah. So first of all, subscription, indeed. My brother and I never were too big of a fan of subscription ourselves. And so we were like, no subscription for the basic functionalities in the app. And right now, the whole app is still available for free and
Yeah.
is part of the product. We're actually like revisiting the app with a lot of more new features in it, and
Mm.
those new features will become available behind the paywall. But right now, the app is still part of the product. And
Yeah.
so in the app, you can select between different breathing exercises. We've got a couple preset exercises. So there's one for
Mhm.
sleep with a longer exhalation because that triggers or activates the parasympathetic system even more. There's box breathing, which you already mentioned. There's like a
Mm,
normal balanced 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out breathing. So there are a couple of presets which you can just select
mm,
if you don't know too much about breath work in the beginning. But you can also completely personalize your exercise. And so for some, especially if you go to a breathwork coach, that can be really beneficial and handy because I've noticed myself as well
mm,
is that my optimal and my preferred breathing rate is actually pretty specific and personalized. And so you
mm,
can completely customize up to zero point 0.1 second the inhalation, the pauses, exhalations, and the pauses in between a new cycle. We also have like a check in where we let you breathe at a couple of different paces. And then we see where your HRV is highest. And I'll explain what that means in a
mm.
second. And that actually means that your heart is like behaving optimally at that breathing rate. And then that breathing rate can be selected as your personalized rate as well. We also have lots of audio guides in the application. So if you do want to have a bit of additional support while doing the breathing exercise with your Moonbird, you can just select an audio guide in the app and it like makes the whole experience a bit more intuitive. But as I
Mhm.
mentioned, it's like optional. For instance, when I use my Moonbird in my bed, I also don't use any audio guides or whatever. I just really use the tactile guidance.
Mhm.
But there are instances where I say, okay, I want to like really like submerged in the exercise and I need a little bit of extra help.
Right.
And then it's just nice to get some guidance.
Mm. And the guidance includes mindfulness as well. So I've listened to a couple of them already, and it guides like just knowing where your thoughts are, just coming back. Like it actually introduces in a really simple but very effective way working with thoughts, because that's often what people get lost doing breath work. They start some breath work and they're like bloop, go thinking about tomorrow I got to do, and then they can't remember, did I breathe in, did I hold it for two, like where am I? Do you know what I mean? Like we're gone.
Yeah.
So the audio is nice for anyone wishing to use audio in
Yeah.
guiding breath work, and that comes with the Moonbird itself. I found that, yeah, very nice. A very nice voice. Very, guides you right back.
She's actually
Yeah,
an opera singer. She's an American
really
lady that did some yoga classes here in Brussels, and I met her through my yoga instructor. And that was back in COVID when we were at home working.
Oh wow,
Yeah, I reconnected with her online back when she was in the US. She's an opera singer, and she recorded all the audios for us. Yeah.
great voice. Really, that makes sense now. I'm like, oh, what a lovely voice. It's
Yeah.
just very calming, soothing, clear, and,
Mhm.
and really easy to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So really excellent choice on the audio. Yeah. So can you share like what is HRV and why does it matter?
So our heart beats not like a metronome. So a lot of people actually think when our heart beats 60 beats per minute that it's one beat every second. But there's
Mhm.
actually a lot of variety in between different heartbeats. And that variety is healthy. It's
Mhm.
even strictly necessary. If you don't have that variations between heartbeats, you're either dead or you have a pacemaker. Um,
Yeah.
so you want those variations. It's really important.
Mm,
And so the distance between two consecutive heartbeats is called heart rate variability. It's really
mm,
the timing in between two beats. And then you
mm,
average that over a certain period of time, which can be two heartbeats, but also can be like 30 seconds. And the number of the level of variations that you have in between heartbeats
mhm,
means how healthy your heart is and how adaptable it is to certain circumstances. A high HRV, a lot of variations, means that your heart can really adapt well to changing environments, to changing needs in your body, that you're resilient, that your body is
mm,
good at recovery and restoring whatever the body needs. A low HRV is really bad for you. It means that you probably are
Mm,
enduring and going through a lot of stress, means that you're not resilient. And so HRV is in the medical space also a very important marker that they take into account when looking at the cardiac health of your body. But
mm,
it's also used by a lot of athletes to see how well they can recover and how resilient they are. So it's a very important metric once you start really looking at your own health. And there are lots of ways in which you can increase your HRV. And doing a
mm.
lot of sports, for instance, is really good at that because you train doing cardio, right? Is really
Right.
training your heart. It's making sure that your HRV increases. But there are
Mm,
other ways of increasing your HRV, and breath work is actually a very easy and effective
mm,
way of doing that. And it's easy in the sense that you don't have to put on your trainers, you don't have to go running for an hour or go to the gym. You can
mm,
just do it in your couch at home. If you breathe really slow, around 6 breaths per minute, which is around a third
mm.
of what a normal healthy adult breathes,
So
you
normally 12 to 13
yeah, 12 to 15, depending a little bit on women, men,
per
and
minute.
per minute. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you start to breathe around 6 breaths per minute, what you'll see is that you get like physiological phenomenon happening, which is that your heart rate starts to sync with your breathing. And each time that you breathe in, your heart rate will start to increase, and when you breathe out, your heart rate goes down. And so
Mm,
the slower you breathe, the more pronounced this coupling of these two systems will be, which is what they called heart coherence as well. And the
mm,
effect is that you get lots of variations between consecutive heartbeats because they will be like going from very low heart rate to
mhm,
very high heart rate, very low heart rate, and so on. So a lot of variations, a high HRV. And so you can achieve this while doing a session, but if you practice more and more over time, you'll see that you also get
mm,
spillover effects outside the sessions. And that's a
mm,
great way to increase your HRV.
mm. I love in the app, there's graphs happening live as I'm holding my Moonbird and I'm
Mhm.
seeing things go up, go down, go up.
Mhm.
Like it's really this biofeedback.
Mhm.
Like it's immediate feedback that's
Mhm.
happening that I can monitor. So I'm wondering, is there like an optimal dose for improving HRV? I know this depends for everyone. There's no specific number, but people often wonder like how much do I have to breathe for how long to get the best benefits to improve my best, in this whole world of optimization,
Mhm.
right? We're
Biohacking.
in a biohack. Like, what is the minimum I got to do to get the
Mhm.
most outcome?
That's a
You
very,
know?
very good and relevant question, actually. And so it's pretty cool to see that with all the evolutions in AI, we're able to look at our data set now. So we've got a couple of million hours in data that we collected from
Mm,
users over the course that we've been existing. And so now we're looking at the data and we're trying to establish clusters to exactly derive that from
mm,
it. So if you're a man, 50 years old, you've
mm,
been practicing because you endure some stress, we can actually see based on the data and based on the cohort of other people that are matching your profile a little bit, we can see that if you practice 10 minutes in the morning, you get like a
mm.
20% HRV increase. Whereas when you practice for, I don't know, just 5 minutes in the evening, you don't see that big increase.
Ah,
And so we're actually doing that exercise ourselves right now to really see if we can like personalize and also give that personalized feedback to you, to make sure that you'll be able to do the exercises when they have most impact and effect, and you feel the changes as well yourself the most. Um, but
mm,
generally speaking, looking at the science, um, it's best to practice daily, just like for meditation as well.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And about 10 minutes a day is fine, but it's better to do 2 minutes than no than none, right?
But
So
yeah, something better than nothing. Yeah.
yes.
But so it's very hard to kind of generalize, and
Mhm.
I'm really excited about this use of AI
Mhm.
and what you're doing and what you're going to come up with. That's really exciting. Like
Mhm.
that's a frontier of science, really,
Yes.
right? So it's not guessing. Like here's what we know.
Yeah,
But
and that's cool.
yeah,
Yeah, we've
mm,
been collecting a lot of data over the past 5 years that we existed, so we actually have a very rich database but we
Mm.
never really had the tools or the skills in house to be able to mine the data. And now, with all those developments, we have. So we're super excited about the future and being able to offer those additional insights and personalized recommendations to our customers.
Amazing. It really is amazing. And I guess generally speaking, if we could do that, you said 10 minutes or so, is that what it's showing? Like the minimal, like you said, you can do a minute, which is great, better than nothing. But to get, best results, is
Yeah.
there a range that you see people practicing?
8 minutes is like general
Mm.
average, and I'd say that's also the minimum of what you need to really see effects. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And how about reading numbers? Sometimes we get caught up in like, with all the gadgets and watches and smartphones, and it's like, oh, it's like it turns competitive. And I have to say, I kind of became competitive just within a week. I was like, where's my HRV? Can I improve my, is it there yet? So how do you read the numbers? Like if someone is curious about the HRV and maybe it's a watch you're using or they have your Moonbird, like is there's kind of different standards of good health
So that's
or
a
numbers?
very, I find that a delicate question,
Mm.
because HRV is a very complex metric. It's calculated in different ways. It's like temperature. You've got Celsius and Fahrenheit,
Mm.
and you've got different ways of calculating HRV as well. And the way we
Mhm.
calculate it is different than it's calculated in most sports wearables, because what we want to see is instantaneous differences between heartbeats, because we want to see what the variations between heartbeats is in one breathing cycle. Whereas if you go running, often the
Mm.
HRV is averaged over like 30 seconds of time. So the way it's expressed in Moonbird is different. It's calculated and expressed in Moonbird is
Ah,
different in comparison to other wearables. So it is already difficult to compare your HRV of Moonbird with an HRV of a wearable. So it's always important, if you look at HRV, to use the same device and compare your
right.
progress within the same device. And then similar to that, HRV is a very personal metric. So it's not
Mm.
advised to compare your HRV with that of other people,
Right.
because it can vary so much. For women, for instance, it can vary on their menstrual cycle. So
Mm.
day of the month is like a huge impact factor. Your age, gender, there's like lots of
A lot
things,
of variables.
a lot of variables impacting
Yeah.
HRV. So my recommendation always is practice with Moonbird for, let's say, a week in time, and try to find out what your average HRV is. Always do it on the same moment during the day, like
Mm.
morning or afternoon or evening. See what
Right.
your average HRV is, and then start, like, once you start practicing more and more and more, you can start comparing yourself to your previous self. But don't compare
Mm.
yourself to others, and don't compare your HRV of Moonbird with that of a wearable, for instance, because it being such a complex
It's
metric.
very different. Yeah. I'm glad you named that to clear any confusion because what I notice is with Moonbird, it goes up to, I think it said 0 to 20 in terms
Mhm,
of HRV or heart rate variability.
mhm,
And a lot of like wearables, like I have a watch that measures it. And
mhm.
it's like it goes to over 100. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
the numbers are different.
yeah,
So sticking, like you said, with one thing,
yeah,
if you're comparing, don't compare your watch to Moonbird or, yeah,
yeah.
right. Yeah. So, I want to go back to a couple of things. One of them is the distinction between breath work and meditation.
Mhm,
And a lot of people confuse the two.
mhm,
And sometimes in the middle of meditation, they start doing breath work, thinking like that is meditation. And
mhm,
meditate like in meditation, sometimes we use a breath as an
mhm,
anchor.
mhm,
But for some people, it's not accessible. Like the breath is not available, challenging to pay attention to.
mhm,
Sometimes it triggers memories for some people.
mhm,
So in meditation, how I teach it is you can use the breath, nose, belly, lungs, or you can use our anchors, hand, feet, seat, or sounds, other
mhm,
things. So there's options,
mhm.
right? So there's a lot of options. So, but then people, what they start doing is manipulating the breath in meditation.
Hmm.
and that becomes breath work.
Hmm.
so, so sometimes we confuse the two. So, what have you seen in terms of what is that? Like, how do you explain the difference for people yourself
Hmm.
between breath work and meditation?
I love that question because I used to be one of those people that mixed the two of them up and used to confuse them as well and thought I was practicing breath work when I was meditating on my breath. And when I meditate, I most of the time use my breath as an anchor. But the easiest way to explain it is that when you're meditating, you're actually not trying to change anything about the anchor that you're focusing on. You're literally just resting your attention on something and you're trying to stick with it. And each time that your mind goes away, which it does, and the mind wanders, you just notice it and you come back. And that's the
Mm,
practice of meditation. It's like focused attention, but not changing anything.
right.
Whereas with breath work, the essential part of it is that you are changing a physiological parameter in your body related to the breathing volume, the breathing depth, the
Hmm.
posture, the nose or mouth breathing, any of these things, and that with the intention to elicit also physiological effects or impacting the nervous system in some kind of way.
Such a good description between the two. I think that clears a lot of confusion. And the beauty of it, there's always space to learn for all of us. So I really appreciate that description. Yeah. So I have a couple more questions for you that
Mhm.
I'm really curious about. And, the name of the podcast itself is Pause to Elevate. So, what does pause to elevate mean for you?
So, pausing for me has a specific connotation. So, when I did my first mindfulness based stress reduction course,
Mhm.
my meditation teacher at the end also asked me, like, if you could describe what you learned from it in a single word, what would the word be? And
Mm,
for me, it was pause, like
right.
learning to stand still and not like physically, but just emotionally and
Mhm.
mentally stand still, observe what's going on, observe your emotion, observe your behaviors, and then like intentionally choose how you want to move through the world or what you want to say or how you want to behave or react to something and so on.
Mm,
And so that's still where what pause means for me, and that's the moment that from that space you can act in a more wakeful
mhm,
way and behave in a more lifted way, you could say, which I guess now is like the elevate part in pause to
right.
elevate. Um, yeah, that's how
Mm,
I would like fill that in.
mm. What a beautiful description. This pause. I really appreciate that pause, because pausing, like you said, it's not necessarily a physical pause. Sometimes we have to just stop,
Hmm.
like physically, just stop what we're doing, just pause. And at times it could be just it's a mental thing we're doing. Like,
Hmm.
wait, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? It's a bit of a stepping back. So thank you for that really lovely description. So, are you open to guiding us for a short breath work?
Yeah, yeah, of course, I would love
This would be
to.
lovely and a treat for listeners. Of course, consult your physician or health practitioner if you're not sure this is something you can do. But maybe you can guide us through something for a few moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
So wherever you are, unless you're driving in your car, you can close your eyes if you feel comfortable in doing so. Otherwise, you can just leave them open and try or start by resting your attention on your breath. No need to change anything right now. Just notice how you're breathing right now. And just for a second, ask yourself whether you can notice if your breathing is any different now than in the other parts of the day or through the rest of the week. Is it calm and rhythmically? Or perhaps it's a little bit elevated. Whatever it is, it's fine. You don't have to change it just yet. Just let the breath breathe itself. And then try to make the space to breathe a bit better. You can try to point your shoulders towards each other. Bring your shoulders down. Make sure you have the space to breathe. Most of the time, we give our lungs not the right space. They cannot just expand the way they should. So make sure they can right now. And if you want, you're invited to put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And feel how your hands move. And if you want, try to make sure that the hand on the belly expands just a tiny bit more than the hand on the chest with each inhale. Now we're maximally using our diaphragm, making sure the lungs can fill up with air completely. And if there still is any tension in your body, try to notice it and relax just a tiny bit more. And as you're doing this, you might have noticed that your breath started to slow down already. And if you feel open to it, just try to slow down your breath a tiny bit more, elongating the inhales and the exhales with each breath. And then you can release the hands, move your shoulders a bit. And then when you feel ready for it, you can gently open your eyes and arrive back in the present moment.
Ah, that was lovely. I can feel even my voice is quieter.
I hope that the people in the car are still driving it.
Yeah, keep driving. Yeah, I can sense the like the calming of the mind. Like really, it's just what, a couple of minutes.
Mhm,
It's like I'm excited in the podcast and talking and asking
mhm,
questions, and now I can feel my mind just present, like more present and quieter.
mhm.
And
And so that was a combination of like we started with
yeah,
meditation, just observing, and then gently
yeah,
going into like a very slow breathing practice, very unguided in the sense that I wasn't counting breaths or I wasn't
right.
stopping too much. And that's actually how I love to do it myself during like what I call these dead moments in a day. Like you're taking a
Mm,
coffee and the coffee machine is taking 2 minutes to drip the coffee, right? Or
right.
you're putting gasoline in your car and you're just standing there and waiting like a couple of minutes. And that's when I check in with myself and I just do this very intentional, slow breaths,
Mm.
not making it complex or anything.
You know, when you're saying this, it's like we have that remote control in the pocket. You
Hmm.
mentioned the remote control. So it's not just sitting at night before bed. Like, I love that. It could be waiting in a line in a bank or
Hmm.
grocery shopping in a till, and there's a lot of people ahead of you. Just
Hmm.
a few deep natural breaths, deepening. Like, it can be done anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I like,
Especially in the grocery store when like one queue is moving faster than yours, the nervous
yeah, yeah.
system
You want to
wants you
race?
to
Like,
like relax the nervous system, just breathe.
yeah. That'll be so helpful to take care of a nervous system throughout the day, on top of, as you mentioned before, like an optimal,
Mm,
8 to 10 minutes or so of, as a practice breath work. But then there's many moments in the day, just like
mhm,
mindfulness.
mhm,
You can have a meditation, but you can have many moments in the day you can be present. And we call it in meditation informal practice. Like,
mm,
notice the sight, the sounds, the smells, what's around you. Notice your body. Like, it's available. It's
mhm,
just with us. So
mhm,
I love that. Thank you for combining the two
mhm,
and giving us both of them. Really, very enjoyable. So thank you.
mhm,
Yeah, thank you so much. So I have one more question before we come to a close. And this one is, I want to dive a little bit, like a quick, short dive into mindset around success in business.
mhm,
Because I mean, you went from, you know, school, finishing your PhD, and then like you're running a business now. Like,
mhm.
and they don't teach us how to run a business in school. You know what I mean? Like, but so what would you say are your, top three things that helped you in terms of mindset to create a successful business? Like, you're running a successful business, not just in Europe, but it's reaching across the globe. And
Mhm.
so I'm wondering, what would you say has helped you the most in terms of mindset? Like, there's something.
So there is a big part in don't give up because there's so many hard times. I guess it probably
Mm,
starts with doing it. Like this
mm,
can do mentality is really important. There are so many things that you don't know how to start. You don't know how to figure it out. You don't
right.
know, like you have never, if you start a company, you have to do 10 jobs at the same time. And
Right.
at best, you might have just done one or two of them previously in your career, especially when you start a business quite young.
Yeah.
So it's that can do mentality of like, I don't know if what it is and how to do it, but I probably can do it.
Yeah.
With the right support, obviously, it's not only me or my brother doing something. Obviously, we have a great support system. We have a network of co-entrepreneurs and so on, but you need to have that can-do mentality.
Right.
And then also I guess the second thing for me would be the never give up part.
Mm.
It's I often compare it to it's not a sprint, it's not a marathon, it's like 100 marathons in a
Oh,
year.
wow.
It's insane sometimes how
Yeah.
the endurance and the persistence that you need to have. Because if you zoom out, it looks like, yeah, growth is going up and we've got a nice curve, but how many issues that you had to, or difficult winds you had to sail in order to get there, right?
Right.
And so
And
it's really
fires to put out.
exactly fires to put out, and just making sure that you keep moving in the just the next direction and the next step forward.
Mm.
And so don't give up, and even that if it's difficult sometimes, just try to look for a solution, try to surround yourself with the right people again, try to make sure that you can find the right way in moving forward and so
Mm.
on. And just if you keep pushing, if you keep doing that, um, and you see that the signals obviously are going in the good direction as well, then it's worth continuing and pushing through.
Mm.
Um, and what a third for me personally, I'd say that it's also important to be transparent
Mm.
about how you feel and how you are in the whole journey, because it can be difficult. And then I find it also important that you share that with people, that at least they are aware of the fact that because when it's going good, it's not that difficult. Like in the sense, it's always difficult,
Right.
but it's going good, right? When when it's hard on you personally, for some kind of reason, and there can be plenty. It's important that you share that with people as well, that you don't have to carry that burden alone. And
Mm,
I've personally found that so I have my brother who's my co-founder, so we have a very good connection.
right.
But we also have a very good board of
Mm,
directors, and that there have been instances. I just became a mom, for instance,
mm,
and I had to like revisit my whole private life as well, my work-life balance, and all these
of
things.
course.
That was like challenging for me as well, and I was able to transparently discuss that with people in an open way, which made it more easy for me to navigate through that. So the
Mm,
mindset of you don't have to, even, you got to push through the hard moments. You don't have to be silent about how difficult it is.
right. I mean, that's real. That's part of what supports success is actually knowing that it is difficult, and
Mm,
then
exactly.
time we will falter. Sometimes we fail flat on our face,
Exactly.
and then make adjustment and reach out for right support.
Mm,
And that it seems you like you really are very real in who you are, and being a new mother as well. I mean, I don't know how you're sleeping, but I hope sleeping is okay now because that's a lot of
thinking
change.
for
Like,
that.
oh, you got Moonbird. What? Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that mindset for creating success.
Mm,
Just keep going, keep going,
keep
keep
going
going.
and be be open, be transparent, like share about the wins, but also the failures, the successes,
Yeah,
the hardship. Yeah.
yeah. What makes it so human, and that's what I really appreciate about you. Is
Yeah.
really you're very relatable, very human, and you've created something that can really serve. So
Mm.
I really want to thank you. Any final thoughts before we end? And I have one more, actually, announcement that I didn't make, so I'll make an announcement. But any final thoughts before we end?
No, just generally, I would love to invite all the listeners to, give breathwork a go if you haven't done so. If you're curious about Moonbird, go to our website. You can also test the product for 30 days. We've got like
Mm,
a trial period for 30 days.
beautiful.
We also have a kids version. So it's not only for you, but also for your kids. Which is like a great
Mm,
success because kids are in dire need of screen-free relaxation tools.
yeah.
So we've got the Moon Buddy for the little ones. And
Mhm.
thank you just generally for listening and for being open to breathwork.
Thank you for your ongoing innovation. And I'm really excited to mention to all the listeners of this podcast, if you're interested, and we'll put it in the show notes, we'll put a code you can use to get 10% off Moonbird. So this is a bonus. Thank you so much for offering this to our listeners. So make sure to check out the show notes. I'll put the link to your website as well and the social media and all the different ways people can follow you and continue to hear about the exciting developments. I really appreciate you. I really want to thank as well all the listeners for listening and watching if you're watching. If you found this useful, please share, like, and subscribe if you haven't. Send this to a friend, to a neighbor, to a colleague, to whoever you think could benefit from just breathing a little more to make a positive change in their life. Thank you so much, and may your moments be filled with ease, and may you be present in as many of them. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this content, check out what's coming up next right over here. Thank you.